We can do this and so much more to keep Singapore special. But what matters most is not what we build, but the power of our human spirit. Showing determination and resolve like our pioneers. Aiming high and pushing ahead as our young should. Contributing in big ways and small to Singapore, no matter what our station in life. In my Chinese speech, I talked about the Xin Yao song, 小人物的歌声, the Xin Sheng, voices from the heart. And I chanced across one vivid and moving example recently of an ordinary Singaporean who made a difference. Just before National Day, I received an email from Mr. Muhammad Zulkifli, who I found out later is a senior journalist at Berita Harian. And he told me that his father, Mr. Rahmat Yusak, had worked with Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. In the early 60s, Mr. Lee had visited constituencies all over the island to rally the ground in the battle against the communists. We talked about it just now when we talked about the pioneer generation of the organizing secretaries. And Mr. Lee went in an open-top Land Rover. And Mr. Rahmat drove that Land Rover. You can see him here. So Mr. Zulkifli said that his father, aged 95, was very ill. In fact, Mr. Rahmat passed away shortly afterwards. And Mr. Zulkifli wrote to me, he said, "My father was only a driver, but I hope people like him will not be forgotten when Singapore honors its pioneer generation." Well, I remember Mr. Rahmat because I used to follow my father on the visits. And if you look carefully at this Land Rover, you see there's a little finger down here, and the face is hidden, but I think that is me. Mr. Lee also remembered Mr. Rahmat. He paid a tribute to Mr. Rahmat on the 20th anniversary of the PA. And I quote what Mr. Lee wrote then. "I cannot adequately express my abiding gratitude to all those officers who sacrificed so many weekends to accompany me on all the tours, including the cheerful driver, Rahmat Yusak. He drove that exposed Land Rover with full confidence, bringing me to all 51 constituencies. They were dedicated men. They slogged with me to help the government win over the ground. Had the PAP lost in September 1963, the history of Singapore would have been different." For his services, Mr. Rahmat received the Public Service Medal Bronze from President Yusof Ishak. So I say to Mr. Zulkifli, we will never forget your father, Mr. Rahmat Yusak, nor the many pioneers who built Singapore, including Encik Yusof Ishak, our first president, who championed enduring values that helped us to succeed. Or Madam Wong Ah Woon, who toiled for 44 years to put up so many buildings all over the island. Or Dr. Umar Rajan, who kept our school children healthy. They boldly wrote the opening chapters of the Singapore story and paved the way for their children to do better and write the rest. Because of them, we have path breakers like Liang Wenfu and Yan Zhonglian, enriching our lives with song and dance. Skilled professionals like Roy Lim, Abu Bakar, and Dorothy Han, seizing opportunities, pursuing passions, and realizing their potential. Now, it's our turn to give the next generation full opportunities to chase their dreams. Young adults like Divesh Singaraju and William Tay, never giving in to adversity. Ang Kian-hua, Hong Jian-hua, and Iswandi Wan-ha, upgrading themselves and becoming masters of their trade. Fauzia Ali and Afzal Ali, launching their careers, and I'm sure in time, making a difference to the lives of others. We have all contributed to the Singapore story. At the heart of the Singapore story is our belief in Singapore. Belief that we can turn vulnerability and despair into confidence and hope. Belief that out of the trauma of separation, we could build a modern metropolis and a beautiful home. Belief that whatever the challenges of this uncertain world, we can thrive and prosper as one united people. Let this belief and spirit burn bright in each one of us and guide us forward for the next 50 years and more. Together, let us be the pioneers of our generation. Together, let us create a brighter future for all Singaporeans. Thank you and good night.